to the third episode of the Expertise Podcast. On the Expertise Podcast, I talk to experts that have created business from their own expertise, and they are starting to influence the world and influence their own industries because they have the connection between their expertise and their business. I have interviewed quite a few before. This is the first interview that I'm going to have in the publishing industry. I'm very excited to talk to Susie about that. But the reason that I like to do this podcast is to inspire my audience, to inspire them to think about how they can use their expertise to create a larger impact, not only in their industry, but to create an impact in the world and to create an impact with people that can receive their services. Our knowledge and our expertise is powerful. We have figured out very powerful ways to do our own processes and to execute our own business. And there's no reason not to share that with the world. And I'm very excited to get in this conversation with Susie Schaefer, who's with Finish the Book Publishing. How I met Susie is that I am in the process of writing my own book. And writing my own book is a process that is challenging on multiple levels because it's a lot of time, but it's also really getting into your story and getting into your content and tying all of those things together to make sure that you're adding that value. So it's really connecting that expertise to your story and showing your audience what that is. And when I started working with Susie, I met her in the publishing realm, and we worked with her own business. But then the inspiring part for me was really how you get into your story and really how you use that story to impact others. So I'll let Susie talk about that. But I just think Susie is a great example of somebody who has taken something that's their passion, their ideas, their expertise, and created a platform to help others spread their own messages. So Susie, welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited that you're here, and we have talked many, many times, and I'm excited that other people have the opportunity to know about your business and to know about you and to know about what you stand for. So enough about me talking about your business. Susie, why don't you introduce yourself and your business to our audience?
Thank you so much, Shelby. I'm Susie Schaefer. I'm founder of Finish the Book Publishing. And what I do is I really help authors create a book that gets results and gives back through cause publishing or social impact publishing. And that really is about you taking the message or the mission of your business and creating a book that talks about that and how it all comes together.
Susie, talk more. I am so intrigued, and I think this is such a unique piece in your business and something that absolutely differentiates you from the other independent publishers out there. Your focus on this social impact and using your book and using your message to create a movement. I've had that language in our meetings before. Can you talk a little bit about that and what inspired that to be a part of your business?
Yes, one of my core beliefs is that books are the gateway to creating a movement. So when you have that ability to put out your message and speak to what your idea is for social change, for global change, to start that conversation, it really becomes really powerful because everybody's unique. Everybody's business is unique in certain ways. And so by you getting the connection between your mission, your message, and your business, it actually just opens up doors for you as far as your business goes.
Talk more about that.
Okay.
Give me an example of what you've seen from that.
Okay, so for example, I've worked with authors that, and as you know, ending human trafficking is one of my causes. And so I've worked with authors that have been in situations where they themselves have been trafficked and have gone through getting out of abusive relationships and control situations and things like that. And what I find is that when I work with authors like that, not only is there a healing process that happens for them personally as they write their story and connect with past wounds and that type of thing, But the other thing is that they can really take that message and marry it into what their business is about. So, for example, their business might be about helping women escape abuse, or helping families get reconnected when they have to leave abusive situations, to avoid being caught up into the trafficking arena. So, you when you think about it like that, and you go, okay, wow, there's a person's story with their book, but then when you create this message that starts a movement, and you create communities and conversations around that, that becomes very powerful. And what that does is it brings more people into your circle that want to work with you and purchase your services and create those larger communities to support one another.
I think that's so amazing, and I think it's in throughout many conversations that we've had, it's that trickle down effect, and it's that getting your message out there, and it's not just you're not just talking to one person anymore. You're speaking to many people, and you can inspire or use that as an inspiration for some sort of movement, some sort of change. I think that's so incredibly powerful, and I think that's a really unique piece of your business.
I think it's really fun too, because when I work with authors, one of the things we do is we really delve into the structure of their book. So, for example, say somebody has a great idea for a book, and I say, okay, let's flush this out. Let's talk about what that means exactly. What is your business? How do you see this book fitting into it? What is the message? What is the mission here? And then I teach them the sticky note method, which we've done with you before, and people love it. It's really a lot of fun. But I teach them the sticky note method to actually get started on their book, so that they can really flesh out the ideas. But the bigger part of when they do that process, it's getting the ideas out of their brain and getting them so that they're put aside so they can come back to it. Because writing is not necessarily a linear process. Sometimes you get inspiration, the woo that comes with writing, the trauma that needs to be healed, the ideas that come to you, and they don't always happen in the right order, and that's okay. That's part of using the inspiration with your writing. And so I teach them the sticky note method so that they can work on the writing pieces and then come back and put it all together before they go into working with an editor.
Right. That's been one of the big lessons for me in writing my own book, is that and I'm an academic, and so I'm very used to this linear step-by-step approach. I'm very good at that. I've been doing that forever. But trying to not escape out of that, but to combine that with this inspiration and combine that with my own story. And I'm just now kind of getting into that story and like dealing with the trauma. And I think that's such an interesting and powerful piece about what you do, that it's very inspiring to work with. And it's very helpful and healing, yes, but then you can't make that type of an influence as a coach or as a consultant or as an influencer without dealing with that in your own respect. So.
Exactly. Personal growth is about healing past trauma. Personal growth is about understanding it, transmuting it, and letting it go. Forgiveness where need be, gratefulness where need be. And that's part of this process, is when you use the sticky note method, you're not having to just like figure out how it's going to look from A to B to C and so on, but you're really taking those pieces and breaking it down. And the nice thing is that when you do that and you find the inspiration to write on that particular topic that's going to be in your book, you then have the ability for your head and your heart, which are they talk to each other, for you to write about it and then allow the healing to happen and transmute that energy. At the same time, you can move on and write about something else while that healing is still working on that particular topic. So it really is much more encompassing than just sitting down and writing a book.
Sure.
We hear about people who say, yeah, write your book over a weekend. I'm like, wow, okay, that might be great for some people. But if you want to go deep and you really want your story and your message to have connection and for people to be able to connect with you as an author and your brand, it is important that you take the time necessary to be able to write about your life and write about the hurt and the healing and all the other stuff, and take the time to process it, because otherwise it's going to be kind of surface level, and people won't connect with it. But really doing the work, the healing work, the self-growth work, while you're writing, is what is going to help people connect to you and your community.
I think that is actually one of this like serendipitous reasons that we were brought together, because that's because I work with story and I work with brand, and your brand is not going to connect with your audience no matter what you do unless there's some sort of emotional connection. And when you tell your story and you tell the story of your brand, then that has so much more of an impact with your audience. I work with people to develop their online courses and to develop their online material and programs to engage your audiences. And when there's that charisma there and when there's that personality there, it's so much more powerful. But I think there's an additional piece to it that you bring that makes it even that much, have that much more of an impact, which is that you dig in and you heal by discovering the deep parts of it. And I think that's really powerful.
Yeah. And in fact, you mentioned something last week when we spoke and we were talking about doing this podcast. And that was that my woo is the sexy factor. And it's really kind of cool because I am an intuitive. I'm clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient. All of my clair abilities have been on fire, especially in the last couple of months. So I've really been able to open up my own intuitive gifts. And I use that when I work with authors. So a lot of people say, okay, that woo is weird. And I get it because a lot of people aren't understanding it. But really what happens is when I work with authors and we talk about what are the topics you're going to talk about and how does this connect? And a lot of times they don't want to tell the real personal stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but that's the good stuff. That's the stuff that people want to connect with. And so I get intuitive hits or downloads when I'm working with people, and we will talk about what I see, the vision that I see for their book and how it fits into the business and how it creates a really cohesive piece of their business. And yes, books are a marketing tool, but your book also has to connect with the reader. It has to connect with your ideal clients. And so I use my spiritual gifts to help bring that out in people when they're writing their books.
Yeah, that's amazing. I want to back it up for a little bit and get into another area of the publishing world that I think is that I have discovered over the past few months as I'm writing my book and getting and publishing my own piece. So there's so many pieces that are connected together, and you need so many different connections to be able to make the whole production happen. I think in my experience working with you, you are the person that does have that whole package and has this incredible network. If you could just talk to the audience a little bit about the process of publishing, I think that would, if they're thinking about writing a book, and I mean, that would be a way to start just discovering how much actually goes into it. So I think having a kind of backing up and showing a little bit of that process would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think what happens is a lot of people think, oh, I can just write my book in a weekend and put it up on Amazon and I'm good to go. And I'm like, yeah, sure, you can do that. That's not going to be, it's not going to get you the traction you need. It's not going to bring those ideal clients to your business. It's not going to share your message, your heartfelt message. So the process is to, especially if you're working with someone like me, who's going to take you through the process and guide you through it and do it step by step so that you don't have to try and figure it out on your own, because that is the biggest misstep that people make, is that they try and go it alone and they don't have the support that they need from someone who understands the publishing industry, how it works, how distribution works, all that stuff. So the process is pretty much like this. When somebody works with me, we do a consultation. We talk about the what ifs with their book, like how it can become. I give them some instruction on how to get started, how to do their writing. When they are ready to go, as far as having what they feel like, pretty much 75% of a manuscript ready to go, I will introduce them to 2 editors. They get to have conversations with both editors and decide who they're going to work with. I tell them, don't look at the price tag of your editor. It has to be the connection. So when you work with an editor and you have that connection to where you're like, oh my gosh, they get me, they hear my story, that's powerful. And that's the person you should work with. you'll go through the developmental edit, which is basically the bones and the meat and potatoes of the story, making sure there's good flow, an arc, a beginning, middle, and end, no missing holes in it, those kinds of things. Once you finish that, then we go into what's a proof edit or proofread on the manuscript to make sure that there are no glaring errors. It's really what I call the teacher with the red pen, although it's a lot more than that. After the proof edit, then we bring in the designer. And by now we've also done a lot of the behind the scenes stuff, which is what I work on. I help you with your title and your subtitle. I help you write your back cover content, your author bios. I draft your copyright page. We go after getting your ISBNs. So there's all these little technical things. I start setting up your accounts for Amazon, for KDP, which is the print on demand service from Amazon. Ingram Spark to get you into libraries and bookstores. There's all these moving pieces that if you were to take time out of your business to do this, you would be overwhelmed. And then at that point, we've already done a lot of the back end work, and we're going to start working with the designer, and we'll come up with options for cover design based on your title, based on the feel of the book. Is it a memoir? Is it a business book? How is your book really, what's the feel of it? What's the look of it? And then as we do that, we're also setting up things like your publishing imprint. It could be your business, maybe not, maybe it's separate, making sure that's all done. And once we have the cover design, then we start working on the interior design of the book, because there's elements from the cover we're going to bring into the interior. There's certain things that are traditional in publishing industry that you have to make sure that you do, because otherwise you might not get reviews on your book at the end, or be eligible for book awards. Things like that are important, and you got to make sure you do those at the beginning of the stage so that you don't muck it up on the end. Okay, so after we get things like the design work done, then we're going to proof the book again. We're going to order copies of it to make sure that you can actually see the physical book and make sure there's no errors. And we do all of that before we even put you into distribution. And then, of course, there's book marketing. There's how do you get your book out there? How do you do a bestseller campaign? What book reviews do you go after? What book awards do you go after? How do you do a book launch? There's all these things. So, I say to people, you certainly can do it on your own, or you can get help. And most people, if they don't want brain damage, they get help to do it. So that's
it's an intimidating process for sure. And it's also one where you go to an expert that knows it to make sure that you have all the boxes checked before you publish your book, for sure. And
I would say there's another piece that is different about what I do is, okay, we talked about the cause piece of it, which, when we're talking about your book, we're going to talk about what is your mission, what is your cause, and how does that tie into this whole process? Because really it's about your mission, your business, your message, your story, tying that all together. That's really important. But the other piece of it is that when I work with authors, I'm not going to just do it for you. Yes, a lot of that is done for you, but I also teach and train you along the way as an author so that you understand how the publishing industry works, why we make certain decisions the way we do, so that you can walk away from this understanding and getting kind of a crash course in publishing industry and how book sales work, so that you understand how to use your book as a marketing tool for your business, and to bring that cause piece into it.
Well, that's another, I think, connection to another marketing piece, but also like your feel good factor, right? Is your connection to the cause. And
yep.
I think that's so powerful, and it connects you to this it's your book and it's your message, but it's connected to this larger idea and larger movement, and you are a part of that, and you inspire people to be a part of that. I think that's super powerful.
Yeah, it really is. And it's amazing to see the traction that an author gets when A, their book is done really well, and B, when they have someone supporting them with the marketing and helping them get reviews and helping them become a bestseller, and to do those things, because that's all stuff that you can use going forward with your business. And even learning how to make back your investment, like by doing speaking engagements, by getting out there, doing podcasts, things like that, sharing your message, and being able to have enough book sales hand-to-hand book sales and at live events and things like that, so that you can actually make back your investment. So there's a lot that goes into it. And, a lot of people, will come to me after their book is published and they're saying, I'm not getting traction. What do I do? And I said, let's take a look at it. Let's see, what are your options? What can we do? But if you haven't started your book, then by all means, reach out to me, because I'd love to have the conversation. The whole consultation and exploring and teaching people the sticky note method, even in the consultation, is so incredibly fun for me. I love it. And it's super powerful, because then it helps authors understand, and I say authors, but I'm really talking about business owners, understand how a book can work into their business.
It's such a powerful credibility, authority tool, and you can have the chance to, and as a business owner myself, it's the opportunity for me to get to know my audience before I begin working with them. So there's that trust factor. I think that's such a key thing. So,
and I can guarantee you, Shelby, when your book comes out, you're going to be reaching a whole nother community of people because of your topic of your book, that are going to find you, because energetically they're going to connect to you and your story. And so that is going to be hugely powerful. It may even develop a whole nother sector of your business, of people that you serve and communities that you serve based on your particular story.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I know. Me too.
I'm excited. Another piece that I think is so important about your business, and really a unique quality in your business, is how connected you are with the editors, and how connected we all are in the process. One of my favorite memories from this year is meeting you and my editor in Colorado and having a business session where we're all talking about our businesses, but then we talked about my book on one day. And that was a really powerful experience for me too, to have everybody coming into it as a team. And I mean, I think that's a really, really, for a new author, it's a really interesting way to experience that.
Yeah, it's interesting because so much of what I do is online. So people see me like this all the time. And so I do offer VIP weekends. I even offer just VIP days. And it can be where I travel to meet that person and their editor, or maybe just me and the author. It also can be something like, let's go wine tasting and have dinner, and let's like really talk about this. Let's get to know each other on a personal level. And so even though we already feel like we know each other, it's so different when you get to meet in person.
Absolutely.
And the stuff that came out of the weekend, spending time with you and Bonnie, your editor, was magical. I mean, there were some stuff that we thought we were going to go one direction, and actually things kind of shifted, and we were like, oh, wow, this is so much more powerful. And it really gave you a lot more groundwork, like to do, like I think it helped you understand, okay, now I see where I need to go with this, and how this whole book is going to come out. And there's a lot of good juju there.
Absolutely. It's a definite process to start writing, and to I'm in the thick of it now, and so that's which is good. It's in the content development phase, but I wish it were going faster, but it will. It'll happen when it happens.
I believe it's all divinely guided. It's the timing is supposed to happen when it happens. And that's why I always tell people, don't set a date for a book launch. There's so many things that happen in the process. People go on vacations, and we have, global world events that happen. And even just, sometimes you need that time to process what you're writing, because that processing is like I said, is the healing. It's the personal growth, all of that stuff. And it's really cool, because then at the end of it, you're going to actually have this new confidence about being an author, and about the services you provide, and about sharing your story, that you suddenly are no longer hiding it. You are now stepping into the spotlight, and you're owning it. And so that is a very transformative process for many, many authors.
Absolutely. Susie, what would you say to somebody that is thinking about writing a book for their business, or thinking about writing a book to heal? What would you say to somebody that's kind of thinking that, gosh, I think I should do this, but I don't really know if I can? What would you say to them?
I'd say need to book some time on my calendar. because in 30 minutes, it is amazing what we can accomplish.
Yeah.
That's the first step is sometimes you just need somebody to talk through it with you, to flush out some ideas, to let you know, your story does matter. And to actually have somebody encourage you to do it, because we all get in our heads and we know how that works. And so I'd say just schedule some time with me, because you know what, your story does matter and it is important to get it out there. You would be amazed at how many people that have unique stories that they thought, oh, nobody has an interest in hearing about my life or my story or whatever. And I say, you would be amazed at the people that are looking for your story to be able to connect.
Well, the connection, the trust is developed. This is what I talk about in my program too, is like your story builds trust and it builds that connection. And you're not just a one-time client, you're a multiple-time client, and you develop a relationship and you develop that deeper understanding. And I think that's such an important connection. So
yeah. And it allows you to really expand on your brand. When you're talking about your own personal story and how you got to where you got, so many times just the story alone about why did you start your business, that sometimes is like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So even those types of things are really great when they're shared, because a lot of people don't get to hear that. You put up your brand and you have a website and all this other stuff, but until you like work with somebody like you, they really dig deep in their brand, and then they work with somebody like me who says, okay, let's tell that story in greater detail. Let's really go into it. Let's take that book and figure out, let's have examples from your life that show the lessons that you're teaching in your book. Let's make it all work together. Let's connect it with a cause. Let's make this stuff firing on all cylinders,
So powerful. Well, Susie, let's wrap this up. I think this has been such an amazing discussion, and I like getting your background and your story, and you're so passionate about that. But I just wanted to know if there's anything you wanted to, last message that you want to leave with our audience.
Last message is, don't overthink it. Just take that leap of faith. Know that there's people here who've got your back, whether it's building your brand and your website and your programs like Shelby helps you with, or whether it's taking your story and turning it into something that meets what your mission is for your business and your cause, and making it all work together. And talk to me. But yeah, don't put it off. Do it. Life's short. Get your message out there.
I couldn't have said it better. It's very, very much so interesting. The title of the last chapter of my book, I just figured it out yesterday, or I figured it out last week. It's called It's Time.
It's time.
Yep.
It's time.
Yeah, great. Susie, this was awesome. You are clearly an expert in your field. You are clearly an expert in getting people to tell their story in a detailed way that helps them heal and to influence others. And I'm excited to see where your business is going. You already have a successful business. I'm excited to see where it's going to go in the future. And I appreciate you being here with me today. So
thank you so much, Shelby.
Thank you. Everybody else, great to have you for the third episode of the Expertise Podcast. I look forward to next time, where we have the opportunity to connect with true experts in their field that have created business out of their expertise, out of their passion. So I'll talk to you next time.